Hello and welcome to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Reuter, and this podcast is brought to you by thelegendarychiropractor.com, an interactive and immersive virtual platform for prospective chiropractic students, current chiropractic students, recent chiropractic school graduates, and even veteran doctors of chiropractic out in the field wanting just a little bit more from this profession. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and if you do, be sure to share with a friend, leave us a rate, leave us a review, and also be sure to subscribe to get more. Chiro HD, superior cloud-based practice management software. Chiro HD is a user-friendly, all-in-one EHR solution built with one mission: to help you run your practice like a boss. Learn more at chirohd.com. Total Clinic Solutions is your go-to source for purchasing both brand new and refurbished chiropractic equipment, as well as phone support for repairs and maintenance. Call Derek and allow him to combine your wishes and his 23 years of chiropractic equipment expertise to find what's best for you and your patients at 704-622-4089 or head to totalclinicsolutions.com now. Yo, what is going on there, chiropractors? Johnny Reuter here with another episode of the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. And this morning we are breaking things down live for you. And if you're listening to this later on audio podcast, all is well in the world. You're still getting the content, you're still listening, and you're still able to apply the information that we're talking about today. So as you can tell, this whole season, these last few episodes, we've been talking a lot about money, how to be smart with your money, how to manage your money, what personality you are when it comes to money, when it comes to debt, when it comes to finances. And now we're taking that last leap of faith in regards to what the heck you do with your money now that you have some, now that you have an income, now that you have a base salary, some bonuses, or if you're starting your own practice, now that you have a salary and or income that literally has no cap. That's the coolest thing about chiropractic, is that literally it is only you, your team, and your office that can limit or put limitations on how much you earn and how much you are making in a month-to-month basis, quarterly basis, and an annual basis. With that being said, the sky is the limit. That's what's so cool about chiropractic, and that's when, you see some of these gurus get on stages and they're like, oh, you can have $1 million practice, blah, 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 blah. Yes, one, you can have $1 million practice. Two, right? What is your take home from that $1 million practice, right? Because you can have $1 million practice on books all day long. However, if your books are break even at the end of the day, you cannot consider yourself $1 million practice, right? Sure, you made $1 million gross, but what did you take home? What were you able to apply to your family, your friends, your loved ones, your trips, your vacations, your material items, your education, your continuing education, your mentorship, your guidance, your coaching programs, your practice management groups? What were you able to invest in regards to utilizing that quote unquote $1 million practice to your benefit and to your family's benefit? So I have a big problem with people who get on stage and they're like, oh, I'm doing $1 million a year. And then all of a sudden, they open their books to you, or you have a conversation on the side with them. And it's like, yeah, we didn't take home that much. We took home maybe, 400,000 or whatever it might have been. But like, that's far from $1 million practice. That's far from a 7-figure practice. So make sure, if you're listening to these gurus, if you're listening to these coaches, make sure that they're actually doing it. They're preaching what they tell you, and that they actually have the books and the numbers to back it up. Because here's the reality, that if I haven't said this before during this whole money management conversation, numbers don't lie. People do. Numbers don't lie, people do. And my mentor says that, my marketing guy says that all the time, because it's like, hey, if you have a new idea, if you have a new ad content, or you have a new ad creative, let's run it. Let's see how it performs, because realistically, we're never going to know what it does or how it does unless we have numbers behind it. So we can say, hey, this ran to this audience, this amount of time with this amount of budget, and it performed this well. or it ran to all those things and it performed this poorly. And now you have numbers to actually validate your experiences, and numbers don't lie, people do. So all these marketing gurus, all these coaches out there telling you what it is, how it is, who to trust, and how to make $1 million bucks. At the end of the day, if they're not taking home that, then what's the big deal? Like, what's the difference between you and them at that point, right? Other than they think they have some sort of expertise and or street cred, because on paper they see a 7-figure business, but in reality, take home is far less than that, right? And I'm not saying if you run $1 million practice, you got to take all that home. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be losing more than half of that, right? Or even more than 3/4 of that. So it's really, really important to kind of think about those things, know who you're trusting, know a little bit about them, what their credibility is, what their rank is in the profession in regards to likability, empathy, and credit, right? Where credit is due. So I'm very passionate about this topic we're talking about today. It's investing. Again, I am not a financial advisor. I cannot give you financial advice. However, what I can do is give you my personal experience. And as we talked about last episode, is that I literally just started working with a financial advisor or a wealth solutions coach, strategist, whatever you want to call him. He's a phenomenal guy. And I actually I had a tax question for him. I got my taxes back for the year of 2020, and I had a tax question for him because I'm like, hey, should I invest in, an IRA or a retirement fund or something along those lines so that that money can compound over time? And at 59.5, I can pull it out and we can kind of use it from there. And we had a great conversation. He picked up the phone, called me. We had a great 30-minute conversation, and he was like, hey, honestly, realistically, where you're at right now, do you think this is the smartest thing to do in regards to not having that liquidity close to you and close to home? And what he's saying when he says that is, would you rather have the 6 or 5K that you would put into a Roth IRA closer to you, or would you rather put it in a bank account for it to compound and grow over time, and then at 59.5 that you can't touch until you're 59.5, pull out at not tax-free money, it is taxable income, and then have that money to utilize at 59.5, right? So he's like, just think about this. You're 27 years old, and you literally, you don't necessarily need to be there right now. Having liquid cash and having liquidity on hand, on deck, closer to you in just an out of sight, out of mind savings account is the smartest way to do things right now. Now, when you start making big money and you start doing really, really well for yourself, then we can start talking about, hey, if I put the 5-6K away into an IRA fund at the beginning of every year and don't touch it until I'm 59.5, that money is going to compound. Having both of those people in your corner is so, so important and so vital. It really helps you to bring yourself, your experience, your personal family, and professional incomes into one greater picture where you can now see a bird's eye view, but also you can get nitty gritty with it after you build your foundation. So in wealth solutions, in financial advising, they talk a lot about how to invest. How do you invest, right? And a lot of people think of investments as just the stock market or cryptocurrency and ever-changing structures that go up and down and up and down and up and down, and there's always a crash, and then it goes back up, and then there's a crash, and it goes back up, and there's always a crash. So how do you manage to, yes, invest in that, but also invest in the IRA, also invest in an MPI, also invest in all of these different things where now you start to create this foundation of amazing financial decisions. And then as my financial advisor says, that's the foundation. That's the concrete beneath the house. Then you can start building the house, which he refers to as your stocks, your crypto, your all of your different portfolios. But let's start talking about assets. Let's start talking about long-term investing. Let's start talking about, hey, how much liquidity do I actually have month after expenses to put down on maybe duplex or some real estate or something along those lines, where it's going to grow and compound over time by itself. And as a value, it's going to have a much higher value from the time I buy it and renovate it from the time that I flip it and sell it. Does that make sense? So I'm not telling you have to get into house flipping. I'm not into house flipping, but it's an example that I use oftentimes because it's a great way to tell you, like, hey, get your assets correct and make sure that the foundation of your investing and foundation of your finances is correct before you start putting wood up and building a house and putting windows in and framing out door frames and things like that, because it's never going to stand if you don't have a foundation first. And a lot of people, especially with social media and how easy things are to quote unquote get into the stock market game and the cryptocurrency game, a lot of people just jump all in on that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, how do I manage, when it goes down, I have no income. And when it goes up, I want to pull out and grab all my money and run. But that's more of a long game, right? It's a solution, or it's a long-term solution, to a very ever-changing world, which you cannot necessarily rely on for steady financial income and decisions. So we talk a lot about, in finances, we talk a lot about, having multiple streams of income, number one, having a solid base for your financial decisions, meaning, hey, make good investments in assets first, build up your equity, and then start investing in ever-changing things like the stock market and cryptocurrency. But first you need to go before all of that, and you need to figure out truly what your finances look like. What are your expenses per month? What is your actual take home per month after expenses are paid? And then you can figure out what you can actually do with that money. Because at the end of the day, you're going to realize, especially coming out of school as a recent chiropractic school graduate, you're going to realize, hey, crap, I don't have liquid cash or liquidity of 5-6K to just toss away in an IRA because people are telling me to do that. It might not be the best move for you. It wasn't the best move for me right now at this very moment at the age of 27. I'd rather have the 5K to put down into a car payment or a down payment on a house or something along those lines, in regards to keeping it just closer to me versus throwing it away into an account that I can't touch until I'm 59 and a half. And a Roth IRA is only one example of so many other investing examples in regards to portfolios that you can go after. But it's an example that I wanted to use in this video because I wanted to show you and tell you a little bit about how that system works before you just start shelling money out from underneath you, and then all of a sudden you have no foundation to stand on. That's not how finances should work. So get your foundation right first. Start investing, or figure out what you have to invest. If it's $200 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month, whatever it is, and then you can work with a financial advisor or wealth solutions management group to really start to figure out what you can invest in, what you should be investing in, and how to start building assets and equity before diving into some of these cryptocurrencies and stock markets. And I'm not saying never get into those things, but I'm saying it's not a good place to start right out of the gate. That's what I'm saying. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you learn to surround yourself by two people, an accountant that you trust and love, and a financial advisor that you trust and love. And that trio between you and those two is going to bring you so much joy, so much freedom, and so much wise investing and financial decisions that you are going to be so much happier at the end of every single month, quarter, year, because you're doing it right. Surround yourself with the right people and you will get great results. It's just a matter of time. This is the long game, not the short game. Don't just go on Robinhood and buy a bunch of stocks up and hope for the best. That's not how finances work. And it's a really terrible way to play with your money, especially as a recent chiropractic school graduate coming out with $150,000 to $300,000 worth of debt. You got to figure out what's going to be best for you, what's going to be the best situation and scenario for you and your future and your family and your loved ones. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope this was helpful. If it was, drop a comment below. If you're listening to this on audio podcast, thanks for tuning in. And be sure to leave a rate and leave a review. And as always, thank you so much to our sponsors that sponsor this show and allow us to put it on day in and day out every single week. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day and a very powerful week. Peace and love, my friends. Bye. Dr. Stu Hoffman, founder and president of Chiropractic Malpractice Insurance, is the foremost expert in both risk management and risk avoidance. Understanding the everyday challenges of today's practicing chiropractor and the current public perception of chiropractic has made Chiropractic the fastest growing malpractice insurance program of the last 28 years. Find out more at chiropractor.com. Imaging Services' primary business is chiropractic solutions. With over 45 years in the industry of helping chiropractors, Michael Tokash offers free consultations on building your business. In the past year, Imaging Services has installed over 100 X-ray machines and digital X-ray systems in over 42 states across the United States. For more, head to theimagingservices.com. Dr. Brad Glowacki runs one of the highest volume, highest profile, highest profitability practices in the world, and it's all run with vitalistic communication procedures. Those procedures from his office are then shared with other chiropractors at his various trainings as a part of Level Up Mentoring. This information is created, developed, tested, and then packaged simplistically before being taught. With bruises and scars from making mistakes, Dr. Glow always delivers refined content that is battle-tested and simplified for use on Monday. To level up your life and practice, head over to levelupmentoring.rocks. That's levelupmentoring.rocks. Again, I'm your host, Johnny Reuter, and you're listening to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for engaging with us on all of our platforms, including, but not limited to, Facebook and Instagram, all at The Legendary Chiropractor. Be sure to check our home site out at thelegendarychiropractor.com, as we have much to offer for prospective chiropractic students, current chiropractic students, recent chiropractic school graduates, and even veteran doctors of chiropractic out in the field. And lastly, I'd like to thank not only you, our listener, but also our podcast sponsors. Without them, this show wouldn't be possible. So I encourage you to go check out their websites and what they have to offer in the show notes for this episode. Thanks again. Stay legendary, my friends.